Yes. Yes, we welcome back to another episode on the Big Steph podcast, where every Sunday I bring to you new and improved updates about the sports media world. Any stories, anything you like, I talk about here on this channel, separate from what I do to my other channels. So yeah, if you have any other sports topics, you like anything sports related, all of it coming to you from the Big Steph podcast channel. So, yes, people, without further ado, we're going to touch on today's biggest topic. And it's been something that I've been thinking about in football, soccer for me, or basketball, another sport I cover, and many other sports. You could look at it not even just sports but in general, just in life. How nostalgia has been for me killing modern sport and ruining fans' appreciation for modern sport. But like I said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Show your love and support to the channel by dropping a like, dropping a subscribe, and yep, more coming very very soon. But let's get straight into it. Modern sport is currently suffering from not being able to push significant faces to the forefront and lead the future of the sport. With the current superstar crisis in big leagues, especially the NBA, I've decided to look deeper into the issue and realize nostalgia is the decisive factor. Now, the first factor of how nostalgia is killing modern sport to me has to be era bias. Now, we all know someone, well, whether older or younger, that thinks their era is better than another era. For example, you hear people talk about players nowadays would never be able to play basketball in the 1980s. They wouldn't make it through the physicality and the toughness of the league and the bad boy Pistons and this and that. But then you have LeBron James, who went on the Pat McAfee podcast and said Giannis Antetokounmpo would score 250 points in a 1970s basketball game. No, it be, that's this is my problem with era bias. We appreciate I believe in appreciating greatness for the era it's in. Players in the 1970s and 1980s only knew what they knew about the game of basketball, and they played the game to their best abilities, and they set the records they could in the context of the sport that they played. Players nowadays know what they know about the game of basketball, adapted to the game of basketball, the how it was originally played 50, 60 years ago, 70 to 100 years ago, and now have taken the game to different stratospheres. However, I don't. This is where we get the bias part of it, where when you hear LeBron James, one of the most influential sports figures in the world today, and maybe even ever, steps up and says something like Giannis would score 250 points in the 1970s basketball game. There needs to be some level of compromise and appreciation between both generations, and I think it started originally, if I'll be calling a spade, from the older generation constantly criticizing younger generation. But that's always life. When have you ever when have you ever seen old heads really full on, not bring down the new generation? And it's not to bring down the new generation in a bad way, but it's to, they feel like they need to uphold their own reputations with nowadays the standard of which younger players are being able to play at, and the opportunities they're getting to play at, the money they're beginning to make. I feel a lot of players don't show enough respect to the legends that have gone before them. And same thing for legends that have gone before, not showing respect to modern players. And I think we need to find a common ground on that, because it ultimately ruins discourse. It ruins the sporting discourse for me. And it ruins us from having fair, just, and really truly analytical conversations that really get to the point and crux and the entertainment value. It's all good and well to say, oh, Giannis would score 250 points in this day and age, or the 1970s players wouldn't be able to keep up with the speed of this game, or it's okay to say all these things, but it's not really fair to players that played in that moment in time, that did greatness, that broke barriers for people who are playing in the modern game. And it's not fair to the people that are playing the modern game that have carried on and continue to take the level of the quality of play to a next level. Everyone has done their part to take this game to where it is today, being one of the most, whether that be basketball, whether that be soccer, whether that be American football, whether that be swimming, whether that be whatever sport you like, whatever sport you like. I think we need to start having, take out the era bias that nostalgia is bringing to the table. Along with that, lofty expectations. For me, nostalgia has not only brought um unfair bias in terms of how we rate the players and how we rank them all time. In terms of some people might feel this era is better, that's why they hold certain players to a higher standard than others. But the lofty expectations that are placed on modern players now compared to what they would be for players from before is kind of like that's not even fair. For example, we compare players like Vinicius Jr., who, to be honest, arguably should have won a Ballon d'Or last year for world football. He's held to a standard of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, who have scored 50 odd goals every single season for 8 straight 10 plus seasons. 50 goals, for context, ladies and gentlemen, is a lot of goals. 50 goals is a lot. A lot of players in the history don't score 50 goals in a season. Like, that's an absurd number. 30 goals in the season is an absurd number. So for 50 goals, you're probably going to be a Ballon d'Or winner or one of the best players in the world if you're able to score 50 goals. Holding Vinicius Jr. and holding modern day players to the standard of aliens of the sport, players that have, yes, gone before, but there were players before Messi and Ronaldo that weren't doing what Messi and Ronaldo were doing. There are players before Michael Jordan that wasn't doing what Michael Jordan was doing. Players before Larry Bird that weren't doing what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were doing. Players before LeBron James that weren't doing what LeBron, like this. We like to hold these newer players when they come up to lofty expectations that they need to be like. Just go out there and be great. That's all. That's my perspective of where I'm coming from with this. Go out there and be great. Nostalgia tends to make us put a lot of lofty expectations on players, and it ultimately ruins how we look at players. Look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is one of the top 15 players to ever pick up a basketball. One of the best scorers ever for me, ever. Kevin Durant is held to a ridiculous standard because he tried to win, he tried to win for his legacy. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, let me just fix my camera. We hold Kevin Durant to this standard of he didn't win a ring outside of he didn't win a ring outside of Steph Curry. But the talk before was he needed to go win. He went to play with the Golden State Warriors in 2017, and he was the best player on the team. He was the best player. He could have easily gone there and been second fiddle to Steph Curry or whatever they had going on. He was the best player, winning 2 back-to-back finals MVPs, and they probably beat Toronto in the 3rd straight finals if he doesn't go down with an Achilles injury, proving how influential Kevin Durant was to that team. They went 7 games with the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Chris Paul. It was not a foregone conclusion every single season because you still have to go there and play the games. And when the games were played, Kevin Durant was one of the best players on the court every single time. Every single time. And we keep holding him to that standard of these lofty expectations of others that gone before, when other greats that are in the Hall of Fame and cemented as one of the greatest of all time, some of the greatest of all time, haven't even reached some of the heights Kevin Durant has reached in his career. Gold medals, an absolute 3-level scorer. And we could go on and on and on about the players that have suffered from this, suffered from lofty expectations of what nostalgia brings to the table. But that's reason number 2 for me as to why I think nostalgia is killing. It's killing the game. We focus on third point I'd like to make is retro branding. Now, this might not be a major point to a lot of people, but it's a factor in a lot of ways. A lot of people like to focus on the retro branding or these new boots. Let's relaunch boots from 2006 to rekindle that feeling of what it felt like to be a kid. Let's bring back this kit design from 2005, 2002, so you can relive this special season that you had years ago. Let's bring back these special, like, come on. There's been a big focus on consistently remaking or retooling retro branding for these sports teams. And yes, it's a good cash grab. It's always good to see those iconic designs come back for a once off. But when you continually do that, and that's like the basis of your branding, you're not really giving modern creators and modern designs and modern players room to grow. We need modern players to come out and make those kits special. Make that new kit design a special kit design for kids younger and coming up to watch the game. That needs to be the kit that's iconic. And yes, I know focusing on retro branding helps build creative designs, but ultimately, we can't get away from the fact that we've moved, those days have passed us. We must focus on refreshing the game and continuing to keep the game vibrant to not only others that are coming up, but to others that are coming in from different that don't have that knowledge or don't have that nostalgia feeling to maybe certain teams of certain years. They should be able to come in and gravitate towards the designs no matter what, without having that nostalgic pull. So for me, retro branding, the focus on retro branding is also one of the main reasons as to why I think nostalgia is killing modern sports. And same thing with lack of engagement. People are so focused on, oh, this era was better than this era, I'm not gonna watch it. I look at WWE. People focus on the attitude era. People focus on what would you call that? The ruthless aggression era, which is like the mid 2000s, or like the mid 2000s, early to very early 2010s, more so the early just the early 2000s, and then you have the attitude era that was in the 90s. People like to focus on that era of WWE, but and they slate this level of WWE, this modern WWE, causing people not to maybe watch it as they would, or get engaged as they would. And I think that's also very, very harsh on people that are coming into the sport, because they also too looked up to these wrestlers. They also too looked up to these sportsmen and these athletes of that people nostalgize. But they're trying to create their legacy as well, and we need to give them that same respect. Because think about it this way: I'm someone in the media industry. If I was to come up and consistently hear people promote about the older generation, where's the opportunity for me? How am I gonna break through? How am I gonna share my knowledge? Gonna share my experience with the world? Gonna share what I think, my views, my opinions. So I think yes, nostalgia should be there. You never want to forget the history that's gone before you, especially the important ones and the great memories. Obviously, we never want to forget that. But I think we also need to take these modern greats and these modern athletes into consideration as they build the path for themselves. And the last thing is finally resistance to change. And that also ultimately ties up the whole point about nostalgia. It's okay to have nostalgia. It's okay to love the past. It's okay to love the eras of the past, or think you love the eras of the past like you do, or think something is wrong with this modern era because you remember the previous eras better than you do. But I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, we must break out of this resistance to change. Accept that leagues aren't the same. Branding isn't the same as it was even just 5 years ago compared to today. Things change, things evolve over time. And again, going back to WWE, they took certain aggression out of the wrestling, cursing out of the wrestling, certain matches like beating and how the blood is shown in matches, headshots they've took out of wrestling and showing them on camera. Certain tackles in football you can't make anymore, whether that be American football or soccer, you can't make them anymore. Certain defensive rules in basketball aren't made anymore, and these are all due so that modern players can make more money, and you could continue to watch the game, watching these players at a healthy rate. Because what good is it you as a fan paying your hard-earned money to watch these guys play and they're injured half the time, or they're under suspension, or they're banned? Like times will change, and we can hold different eras to their regard, whether we like them or not, for what they brought to the table. But we need to give each era its own grace in developing to become a modern day legend and shaping their era for their audience. And I think it's just fair that we do that as an audience, but also as a media who cover the sport, not to focus too much on nostalgia and not to let nostalgia cloud our judgment. Even for young me, I might say, "Oh, these teams I grew up on as a kid might be better than what's happening now." And ultimately, sometimes that's not even the case. Sometimes it's just like how it is, but we just remember it because some of our favorite memories are from back then. We can't remember every single game we watched as a kid. We remember the good moments. We remember the players in their good times. Sometimes they're bad, depending on which player it is, but or who it is. But you know what, you guys know what I'm saying. Sometimes I think we just need to break the resistance to change and understand that times are evolving, and that modern greats need their appreciation just as much as the ones that have gone before. But people, let me know in the comment section down below what you think. This is my take on why nostalgia is killing modern sports. If you like anything I post on the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as I post weekly for more Big Steph podcast content. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next. Do you think nostalgia is killing sports? Leave in the comment section below. Catch you later.